Let's stay with this and just try and unpack just how much interest there's actually been since the resumption of the trial. Now, remember, Oscar Pistorius started the country's obsession with court television as well. Many people all those years ago following it minute by minute. People glued to their screens, and it seems it's going to be once again a case with the Meyiwa murder trial. So that's the television side of it. What has the engagement's been like on what the kids are calling these days the socials? I think it's the right way of explaining it, across all the various platforms. Let's try and unpack the movement and the interest with data, amazing data. I'm joined by Tonya Khoury, founder of Acumen Media. Hello to you, Tonya. Good to have you with us. Oh, you're down in Sodwana Bay, a beautiful part of the country. Thanks for your time. I want to just get a sense of, we start from the umbrella. We'll zoom in a moment. We'll narrow things down. Can we just talk engagement? How many posts, what do you measure over 7 days? What does that look like for us?
Yes, that's right. So this study is about over 7 days, and over 330,000 people were talking about Senzo Meyiwa trial over the past 7 days. It's been like that for almost 2 weeks. That's what's been going on. We are so engaged. I mean, at one point in one of the YouTube chat rooms, there were over 120,000 people engaging in the trial as it was live.
And while we're looking at the number of posts in 7 days, help someone like me understand, Tonya, difference between posts going out and also the engagements. I see it's two different metrics that you have here. Help me understand the difference between the two, if you don't mind.
Well, as we are talking now, Gareth, the top number would apply. We would be one post. Our conversation. There's been 107,000 unique posts. So that means a news item, a social media post, a blog, a forum, something like that that has related to this trial. So well over 100,000 in a 7-day period. And of that 100,000, 330,000, so about a third of a million people were engaging with that. So sharing it, liking it, talking back to it, etc., etc.
And I see we're using the hashtag in this instance, and it's the most obvious hashtag, isn't it? Hashtag Senzo Meyiwa. So is that how the measurement works? It's based on that hashtag and that particular keyword. Is that how you measure this?
Correct. So what happens is we put a set of keywords into the machine. In this instance, it was Senzo Meyiwa trial, Zandile Khumalo, Kelly Khumalo, Msholola, who is very popular amongst the social media community. That's one of the advocates. Msini, and a few others were used in this study. And this gives you the gist of people within the trial over the past 7 days and how we spoke about them in totality. And it's fascinating what came out. I mean, if you look at the green numbers underneath those numbers you're looking at there, that 107,000, it's climbed by a huge percentage over a 7-day period. So last week, we weren't half as involved as we are this week.
Yeah, I'm not surprised if we're taking a look at the interest on television. That doesn't surprise me. But part of the software that you use and the research that you're doing, Tonya, it goes beyond that. I mean, you can get the numbers, I suppose. What always fascinates me is how sentiment is measured as well. But it's one thing to put a hashtag up there and see how many people are using that. But can we talk sentiment for a moment? I've never quite understood how you're able to do this. And just take us through the sentiment that you have.
Thank you for the great question. So sentiment is measured by a machine in general. Machine sentiment uses AI, so artificial intelligence, to work out what the words sound like. Are they positive or are they negative? And very often that's pretty good. Like we get about a 90% accuracy rate on the English language. But sometimes there are some errors. So we actually go through the data and make sure that the machine got it right. If the machine gets it wrong, we teach the machine that next time that one should actually be allocated that specific sentiment. Now, sentiment can be positive or negative and everything in between. So what we're seeing here on this slide is that there is a net sentiment of minus 31%. So in any story, you can go from minus 100 to plus 100. And we're sitting at minus 31%, which means we're very angry about this story. A good 23% of us, so almost a quarter of us, are expressing our dismay at this case, the anger, the length of time it's taken. Any positive sentiment we're seeing is because finally we're moving forward. The judge came under fire as well. Some people not liking him very much, but still happy that there is this momentum now on the Senzo Meyiwa trial.
And so now, obviously, it's not able to predict what's going to be happening going forward. So 12.5% positive, 23.8 negative as well. Tonya, just help me. Oh, it's neutral. I was trying to find what the yellow was standing for. It's neutral. There it is. Sorry. Apparently, I need to go to an optometrist as I'm getting a bit older. You mentioned AI, and I'm so glad you led me there, because I was going to ask, where in your world, obviously as an expert like yourself now, AI, is this relatively new in your world? Has this always been around for you? And what am I looking at here? It looks like I'm looking at a seismograph from an earthquake somewhere around the world. What am I actually looking at?
Well, it was an earthquake in the media. So you're pretty much right there, Gareth. So the first graph, the graph on top, shows us when the Senzo Meyiwa trial conversation hit positive or negative territory. And you can see only in the beginning of the week have we got some positive conversation going on. And the rest of the time's pretty much grim as those red lines continue across the week. The bigger the red line dip, the bigger the negative conversation going on. Then underneath, the machine brings out keywords that it thinks are relevant. So you'll see the normal ones there, Senzo Meyiwa, Senzo trial, etc. But what you're seeing a lot.
Oh dear, Tonya, I hope I haven't lost you for a second. I'm just going to see if your audio comes back. We're going to give it a second. Tonya, I think I may have lost your audio for a second, because what we're looking at is just the sentiment over the last week or so. So it looks like, I'm afraid, we have lost Sonia, but one of the other graphs that we were going to be looking at, we can actually bring it up. We're going to have to leave Tonya for now. It's the last graph. There it is. What you're taking a look at there, I know the text is a little bit small. Apologies, maybe it's not even just my eyesight. But what it's taking a look at is what the AI is, what Tonya was talking about when it comes to the various groups, the various words that they're using. My team will let me know if Tonya is back with me, and then I can just bring her back into the conversation. While I'm waiting for Tonya to give me a thumbs up and I can see if she's there, they start using words that are part of aspect groups. Tonya, am I back on with this? When I know I've got you back with me. We're talking about what the AI is saying, aspect groups, and you've got key words there as well. I believe you're back with me. Let's pick up there.
I am with you, Gareth. I am. So the aspect groups are, again, where the machine pulls out certain words that it believes we focused on. And here you can see that the judge comes right to the top of the pile with a large bit of red, you know, so people didn't like him very much. And then we see Zandile Khumalo coming through also with a strong negative undertone. And that's because she was quite rude. Many speaking about how she refused to put on the hoodie because it would mess with her hair, or she asked one of the advocates he told one of the advocates that they were not her husband and they weren't allowed to speak to her that way, you know, with very little respect for the judicial process. And many social media contributors were saying, like, you know, where's the respect for the law? Another huge conversation that came out of this data is, why is Kelly Khumalo not in court? People want to know why she isn't one of those that is going to be cross-examined, especially now that we saw Stein's testimony on Friday, and that started to creep into the data as we start to digest what was quite technical information coming out of that trial. And Stein and the cell phone records pointing very strongly to a relationship between Kelly Khumalo and everybody apart from one of the accused. So next week I think is going to be fascinating.
It really is, and I love chatting to experts like you, Tonya, on topics like this, especially when it comes to social media data. Back in the day, it used to be known as keyholing the data as well. I see it's all moved on very swiftly, but even now AI coming in. I really hope we're going to talk again, Tonya. I nerd out on this sort of stuff, and I really think it gives people a sense of how important the conversations are, but also what people are actually saying out on the streets. Tonya, thank you very, very much indeed for your time this afternoon. So if you were just taking a look at some of the graphs, you want to maybe go and get some more details about that, you can go and find out about Acumen Media. That's Tonya Khoury making time for me this afternoon.